And now the details on the investigation into the death of Ashlee Robinson. Her family is demanding answers after the influencer from South Jersey was found dead during a trip to Africa where she had just been engaged.
Alicia, well, Ashlee Robinson, she actually was raised locally in South Jersey, and now her death in Zanzibar is making headlines across the world. Well, today we spoke to her family in Delaware who say they aren't getting answers from her fiance or officials in Tanzania about what happened to her.
Bar initially said that Ashlee took her own life, but you guys released a statement saying that her death was suspicious. What do you think happened?
We're not too sure what happened. That's what we're trying to find out. I got 2 emails today from the embassy in Zanzibar, and it said the investigation is still ongoing.
So I got some comments on a video that I posted, actually, or I should say multiple videos for me to, hey, review Ashlee Janae. I didn't know who Ashlee Janae was at first. Well, come to find out, she is a social media influencer on Instagram and some other platforms. Well, she suddenly lost her life in Africa while vacationing there for her birthday. And not only that, her boyfriend proposed to her while they were there. Well, they are saying that she did it to herself, but people are thinking, no, he might have something to do with this. Well, Fugitive TV, what we're going to do is dive deep into the situation, especially his background, and I'm explaining everything to you so you can decide. Stay tuned. Welcome to Fugitive TV. I am your host, Ray Marcel. And what we do is we take a look at criminal cases involving missing people or cases that need to be solved. And sometimes what we do is we take a look at these cases from a different perspective. See, I was once a fugitive on the run from the law myself. I ran for about 15 years after I committed some white collar crime. I was living in different countries under different names, and I turned myself in. Now I am a multiple business owner. I'm a motivational speaker. I help family members locate missing individuals. And from my knowledge of, I should say, or experience of being on the run, I've learned how to look at some loopholes and also learn how to read in between the lines. So some things I can see a little differently than other people. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the case of Ashlee Janae. Now, like I said in the beginning of this video, some people were commenting on some of my prior videos, and I respond to almost everybody's comment that I try to. Sometimes the comments get a lot, but I try to respond to a lot. And I saw some people ask me to review Ashlee Janae. At first, I didn't know who she was, so I had to Google her, and then come to find out, she is a young woman who lost her life in Africa, not just recently, actually, which I'm going to read to you the dates. We're going to read a couple articles, and we're actually going to get into details, especially of who she was with. Now, she was a social media influencer, okay? So she had over, I think it was like 100K followers on Instagram, which is not hard to do. It's not easy to do. It's very hard to get that many on Instagram. So she was actually doing well for herself. And she got involved with this gentleman named Joe McCain, okay? And we're going to get into who he is, all right? Well, they ended up going to Africa, and he took her to Africa for her birthday. And I'm going to read to you some of the details right here. So influencer Ashlee Janae died during a trip to Tanzania with her fiance, Joe McCain, earlier this month. And the police are actively investigating. According to a local outlet, police initially believed the social media star death was that she did it to herself. suicide, that she did it to herself. Now, you know, here in YouTube world, certain words we have to be careful of saying. Now, it was after she was found unconscious in her villa at Zuri, Zanzibar, but her family still has questions regarding the suspicious circumstances of her passing. Here's a timeline of her last days. Now, Joe proposed to Ashlee during their trip, and she took to Instagram to post a video of the moment we popped the question. Now, or when he popped the question. Now, I'm going to show you the video of that she posted to her Instagram. Cameras captured him getting down on one knee at a luxury safari serve of wildlife while a lion walked in front of them. The following day, Ashlee shared more snaps from several where she was posing among the animals, both solo and with Joe. She posted pictures of herself and her fiance feeding zebras and standing near a giraffe, and even reshared the shot of him proposing. And then it says on April 5th, And the next day, Ashlee celebrated her birthday on social media with a series of snaps from the trip. So she, like I said, she went there. It was a birthday celebration. So I'm pretty sure he surprised her with his birthday trip to Africa. I mean, who wouldn't want to go, right? So it says she was, putting pictures all over Snap, her Instagram. Now it says you can see a bed of rose petals at her feet that spell out HBD Ashlee, which is happy birthday, as she poses while feeding a giraffe. She also shared a clip of her and Joe kissing as the giraffe ate from the bowl next to them. Now, April 8th, things took a turn. A few days after Ashlee's mom, Yolanda, told Philadelphia police her daughter called to say she and Joe got into an argument and moved to separate rooms. Now, they got into an argument while they were in this villa. And we're going to take a look at this villa too, because I have the website and everything. So they got into an argument while they were in this villa, all right? And during the argument, hotel staff was called, and the hotel staff moved them to separate rooms. They had been staying at the luxury resort Zuri Zanzibar at the time. Now, on April 9th, the next day, this is when things got weird. Ashlee was found unconscious in her villa and rushed to the hospital. The family tells TMZ Joe waited 11 hours to call them and tell them what happened, which they find very odd. They also said Joe told them Ashlee was okay and stable, even telling them not to worry about it. WPVI reportedly obtained the hospital's medical records for the incident, which notes an unidentified mark around her neck says, according to the husband, he found she hung herself on the door. April 10th. According to Tanzania outlet, Ashlee died at the hospital on the 10th. So on the 9th is when they found her. And what they're saying is they're saying that she did it to herself. Now, there's other reports saying that she did it with a piece of clothing. Some reports said it was in a closet. We're going to take a look at the villa. I'm going to tell you why I don't believe it was the closet. We're going to see that with our own eyes, okay? But some reports are saying it was a piece of clothing that she did it with. And then you see like the door, I guess a door. He said it was a door. They found her on April 9th, but she didn't pass away till April 10th. They're also saying that was an additional marks around her neck. Now, I can't get clarification on what type of marks. They're not saying if these are scratch marks, choke marks from somebody's hands, rope marks. That is the part that is unclear because there's still some facts that is not clear in here. And I see some people telling this, telling that, but I really don't see a lot of facts. So I'm going to keep it how it is. Now, April 10th, according to the Tanzania outlet, Ashlee died at the hospital on April 10th. It says this doc lists her immediate cause of death as cerebral hypoxia by strangulation and suffocation. So, she could not breathe. Something was tied around her neck. The family tells us they haven't heard from Joe since he called to say Ashlee was in the hospital. Then it says if you or know someone who is struggling from this crisis, and it gives you a number to call. So like I said, she was on a trip to Africa, like this says, for her birthday, and then Joe proposed to her. And then a couple of days later, they get into an argument. Hotel staff has to come, and then when hotel staff has to come, they have to separate them and put them into two separate rooms. And they're not saying how far these rooms are. They're not saying if they're conjoined rooms. There's a room on this side of the resort and that part they're not saying. So there's a lot of details I would like to know. One detail is I would love to know what they were even arguing about in the first place, because if we find out what they were arguing about, maybe this can tell the story, which we're going to get into a little bit later. But right now, let's take a look at the actual villa where all of this happened. All right, so this is the villa where it all happened at. Zuri Resort in Tanzania, okay? I mean, it looks beautiful. It looks gorgeous, right? So he was, treating her, like I said, for her birthday to this resort in Africa. I mean, who wouldn't want to go there, correct? Now, we're going to take a look inside. Now, I don't know exactly which villa they were in. If you know of this case, and you know exactly which villa they were in, please let me know. I heard that it was possibly one of the villas that was $190 or $195 a night, which I did go to the pricing here. So you have the regular bungalow. It looks like $632 a night, but you have to have some sort of special discount rate. Then the best available rate was $790. Then you have the bungalow with the interconnected option at $790. Then you have this jacuzzi bungalow at $961, and then you have the jacuzzi suite at $1390. So I don't know exactly, which one this was, but what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of these. And I told you that first, one of the reports says that she was found in a closet. So this right here, I believe, is the 1-bedroom suite. Okay. And what we're going to do is, for you guys that know me, you know what I do. I dig down deep. I like to see exactly where everything happened at, because it gives you an idea of everything. Okay. Gives you an idea. Now, this is actually the 3-bedroom oceanfront. If it was just those two by themselves, I don't think they're in a 3-bedroom. So let's get out of here. All right. But I want to dig down deep, because if she was found in a closet, I want to see what this closet looks like. All right. So I'm curious to see what this closet looked like, if it's even possible that she could have done something like this in the closet. The one reason why I'm saying this is because you always hear of people maybe doing this to themselves, let's say in a jail cell, right? And then you're wondering, how did they do it in a jail cell? Well, for people that's never been in a jail, it's hard to explain that there's kind of multiple ways. So we have a closet here. But I mean, look at this. I mean, we do have a closet here, but look, I can't go inside the closet, but you have a little thing stick here. I mean, I really don't know her measurement, size, or anything like that, but closet looks a little small, so I don't know about that one. Let's see if we can keep going forward. Now, this is the jacuzzi suite. Okay, so the jacuzzi suite, people. So we're in the bathroom here. Let's keep going. That's before you go outside. This looks like this might be a bedroom. And what's this way? What is this way? All right, so this is the bedroom right here. So the bedroom has like almost like looks like a U shape, a loop. You can go in one way out the other. So that's the balcony. All right, so there's no closet in the bedroom. This door leads you to the bathroom. This door leads you to the bathroom. So let's go back. I don't see a closet, unless maybe these mirrors open up to a closet. Oh, wait. I think this, yep. See this door right here? So this right here might be a closet. But the problem is we can't see what the closet looks like because there's a door. So this right here is a closet. I believe this should be a closet. Yeah, because see that door handle right here? Very odd. You can open up this little small part of the door right here. Very odd. Let's see what's out here. Interesting. All right, so let's go back in. Now, like I said, reports said it was from a closet. So, I mean, possibly, I don't know what this closet looks like. Who knows? I don't know. Then the other report that I read you guys, Joe, the fiance, said it was from an actual door. So if it was from a door, where could it have been from a door? If it is from a door. Now, the thing is, there is a lot of beams up here. Look. I mean, you do have ways that you could get up here, especially this door frame right here, and do something. So, I mean, it is possible, depending on where it was at. But I want to show you guys this hotel room so we can look at this together. I should say this villa. All right, so now that we took a look at that, if we had to believe one, the closet or the door, which one is more believable if it happened that way? Me, maybe I'm going with maybe something the door, because when I showed you guys inside of the bedroom, you did see beams, and you know that you could, if you wanted to, tie something from and probably jump off a beam and do that to yourself. You could. The closet, I don't know about that one. So I don't know where the closet came from, the theory of that. Like I said, there's multiple reports, so you don't know which avenue to believe. All right. So like I said, she was found, but then didn't pass away to a day later. Now, let's take a look at who Joe McCain is, all right? Let's take a look at Joe. Joe is pretty much in the crypto business, crypto hedge fund type of guy. I'm going to explain everything to you very thoroughly that he does and easy for you to understand, all right? So let's take a look at Joe.
They couldn't actually do a maintenance cut twice in a row and then start, doing the kind of quarter, the 25 bips cuts consistently going forward until they reach sort of a normalized rate. We think that's close to 3%. So there's a lot of room for them to cut. And let's be clear, real rates, if you look at median inflation right now, it's about 1.7%.
All right, so this right here is Joe McCain. Joe McCain is the founder, CEO, and CIO of Asymmetric, a modern-day crypto fund. Asymmetric is backed by Mark Anderson, Chris Dixon, and Circle Inc., as well as founders of Solana, Multicoin, Coin Fund, and many other reputable investors and entrepreneurs. Now, I do know a little bit about crypto. If you guys been watching my channel, I explained crypto with Bitcoin when it came to Nancy Guthrie, how the blockchain worked. I even used crypto myself when I was on the run, because at that time, crypto you couldn't really trace it at that time when it first came out. So I did use it, especially when it first came out, Bitcoin, because you couldn't trace it. So it was a way of moving money underground that people, you could, and to this day, you still can. You can go into the dark web and you can purchase illegal things by using crypto, still to this day. But so that's how I know a little bit about it. Now, the people that are backing him up, they are well-known names in the crypto finance world and also in the hedge fund world. So these names are no joke. They are backing him up, and these names come with funds, they come with companies, and they do come with money. With over 24 years of experience working on Wall Street to Silicon Valley, and with skills ranging from systematic and quantitative trading to fundraising and running a venture-backed open source enterprise software company, McCain's perspective on technology and finance is rather unique. McCain is a frequent speaker on the global conference circuit, actively promoting emerging technologies and relevant businesses use cases to bring. He was also the director of Microsoft and the cloud and AI organization. The guy has done a lot. I'm not going to go through everything, but he has done a lot. One of the major things he had done, McCain is also an advisor to a handful of companies like Dharma, which was an app that was acquired by OpenSea. Now, if you guys don't know who OpenSea is, OpenSea at one point a few years ago was one of the biggest things when it came to buying and selling an NFT. I still own a couple NFTs. NFTs are pretty much like these pictures, these digital pictures that you can purchase, and people were buying some of these pictures, I'm talking about, for millions and millions of dollars. And when you buy them and trade them and sell them, you would trade them and sell them on a platform called OpenSea. And every time you buy or sell or trade, OpenSea will take a cut. So like I said, these people that he is working with, they are some major players. Now, in case you were wondering, there is kind of an age difference. I wouldn't say kind of, there is. He is 45 years old, and I believe she was 31. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe she's 31 and he's 45, all right? So, I mean, it's not like he was dating a baby. She was 31 years old. She looked very young for her age. I mean, you guys tell me I look really young for my age. So, me and Joe are pretty much, I'm actually older than he is by a couple years, but he's 45 years old and she's 31. He's from Miami, not originally, but was living in Miami. She also was living in Miami. Now Joe does have an ex-wife. I'm not going to say her name because she's not involved in this, but he has an ex-wife. She's living on the west coast of the States, living in a multi-million-dollar house, okay? She's got her own thing working for her. She works for a multi-billion-dollar company, so she's doing well for herself. Joe also lived in Washington, Seattle, and Oregon. He worked for Microsoft. You gotta remember, Microsoft is based out of Washington and down in Oregon. That's like their headquarters up in, I believe it was Washington, Seattle, Washington. I believe it was their headquarters at one point. I don't know if it still is. But and then also he worked at Wall Street, which is in New York. Now I did background check it. I did look. So he was living in these areas and also working for these companies. I'm going to show you some other companies that he has too. So here's his main company, Asymmetric Financial, okay, for investors who think outside the bank. Now, I've seen some people try to explain this, and no knock to some people that try to explain it that really don't know how crypto works or anything like that. The easiest thing that I can tell you about this is, you guys know what a financial advisor is, right? A financial advisor will go and take your money, if you got extra money or savings, and basically advise you where to put that money at to keep your money safe. They'll ask you first, what do you want to do with your money? Do you want to keep it safe? Do you want to grow it at the same time? Do you just want to grow your money? And they'll tell you where to put it at. So they might tell you to put it in some life insurance policies, like a let's say universal life insurance, okay, to where after a certain amount of years you can borrow from it. They might tell you to put it into stocks like the S&P 500. So if you put it into there, you know, after a while you will start getting what is called a drip. And a drip is something, it's almost like an interest paid to you. Just as just an example, let's say you put $100,000 in the stocks in the S&P 500, okay, that's just an example. And now every month, because you did that, S&P 500 is paying you an interest. So you might get $2,000, $3,000 every month on top of your $100,000. You get what I'm saying? Just to invest in this stock. Some people will use that, what is called the drip or that interest, to live off. Some people take that drip or interest and reinvest it to get more drip. So pretty much what he's doing is he's doing this in the stock world. I'm sorry, not stock world, but the crypto world. So if you have some extra money laying around and you want to invest, he's going to tell you, hey, invest in this crypto, invest in probably in this, new app or new blockchain, because it's going to grow and then give you some money. Both of you guys invest, both of you guys grow together, and hopefully both of you guys get rich. And that's what this guy is doing with this business. Now, some people were saying maybe Joe McCain was going broke. Maybe that's why they were arguing. That's what some people were saying. I don't think that's the case, to be honest with you. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I was looking at some of the financial reports because I know how to pull these. I'm a business owner myself, so I know how to pull certain things, look at quarterly reports. He owns multiple LLCs, multiple companies. One company's in the restaurant industry. He even got a PPP loan for around $150K, which was forgiven. So for you guys that got any PPP loans, to get a PPP loan for $150K, yeah, he was pulling in some cash flow, just whatever restaurant business this was, and it was forgiven. So he wasn't scamming nobody. It was forgiven. Okay. Also, there was around 10 employees working around that time that was reported. So we had employees working too, which could be kitchen staff, waitress, waiters, hostess, things like that. So it looks like it wasn't a big business or a big restaurant, but what I'm looking at, hey, and not only that, the lender also was Bank of America. So the lender was Bank of America. So, I mean, he was doing all right just with the restaurant, alone. Looks like he was doing all right. I looked at his other LOCs and it looked like he got a PP loan for any of the other ones. So if he didn't do that for any of the other ones, it looked like he was doing decent for himself. Now I tried to look at a net worth, and you can get anywhere from 15 million to 45 million with that company, the financial company I told you about. So Joe was doing well for himself. And then, like I said, you look at the house that the ex-wife has. And I looked, Joe and the ex-wife both owned the house. They bought the house for over $1 million when they bought it. And it's a very nice house. So they were doing really well. He took her to the trip to Africa. That is not cheap. You saw what the price of was the villa that I showed you. That was not cheap. So he was doing all right for himself. And at one point, it looks like he was even a DJ. You have here Node Closing Party. And I did see a company underneath him called Noid. And then I saw a company called Mafia Records. And then right here you have Joe McCain. If this is the still saying Joe McCain. So you see Joe McCain Mafia Records. And you go down to the flyer. It says presents Plaid. And it says with DJs John Hussey, Joe McCain with Mafia Records. And this was 2012. So at one point it looks like he was even a DJ. All right, so like I always like to do, I know I read one article about it, but I like to read more than one because some articles will have more information that the other one's lacking. Now, this article is from ABC News, and this is just from only an hour ago. So hopefully this has more information that we can both read together, okay? So it says family seeks answers after influencer Ashlee Janae is found dead on a vacation in Tanzania. And of course, that's Ashley right there. Like she was very, very pretty. The family of 31-year-old Ashlee Robinson, that's her real name, Ashlee Robinson, but she went by Ashlee Janae, is seeking answers after authorities in Zanzibar announced that the American social media influencer died at a hotel in Zanzibar, Tanzania. My daughter Ashley, she's no longer here with us, and we're trying to find out why. Robinson's mother, Yolanda Dennis Indris, told ABC station in Philadelphia. Uncertainty, mystery, anger, sadness, it's like part of me has been taken, her father Harry Robinson told WPVI. Robinson, a lifestyle influencer who has more than 100,000 followers on Instagram. I believe when this happened, she had 80,000, but now when I looked, she's over 120,000. This is how big the story is getting. Goes by the name Ashlee Janae on social media, where she shared life updates, travel adventures, and moments with her fiance, Joseph McCain, who I showed you guys, who we looked at, who was vacationing with her in the Zanzibar region of Tanzania at the time of her death. Robinson's most recent Instagram post includes photos of her and McCain celebrating her 31st birthday on a safari trip in Tanzania. Her final post on Instagram was posted on April 5th. And included a montage of photos showing Robinson feeding a giraffe where she was surrounded by rose petals that spelled HBD Ashley and the caption chapter 31 and I'm exactly where I need to be. She was starting the next chapter of her life. She called us to FaceTime us to share with us her travel and her vacation, Andrea said. Zanzibar Police Commission Zuberi Shambela told ABC News Tuesday that McCain is still being questioned by police and investigation into her death is ongoing. ABC News has reached out to McCain, but requests for comments were not returned. It is unclear if he has returned an attorney. No charges have been filed. So they don't know if he's retained an attorney or not, okay? I'm pretty sure this man has an attorney. I'm more than sure. People like this usually have an attorney already on detainer. I don't know if you guys know this. Multimillionaires always have an attorney on detainer, meaning they don't have to call around and get one. They already have an attorney on detainer because once you reach a certain status of being a millionaire, you are used to getting sued. I have my phone right here. I probably got about maybe I would say 6 or 7, maybe people you can consider millionaires on there, and every single one of them has been sued multiple times. So they always will have an attorney for a retainer. Police told ABC News that the hotel staff had been alerted to a domestic disturbance that was described as a romantic conflict between Robinson and her McCain during their stay by other hotel guests. Hotel staff separated McCain and Robinson on the night of April 8th, moving McCain to a different villa in a resort about 8 to 10 minutes walking distance from Robinson's room. So we got my question answered. Remember I said, how far did they get moved apart? So right here it says moving McCain to a different villa in the resort about 8 to 10 minutes walking distance from Robinson's room. Okay? So it sounds like they moved McCain to a different villa and let her stay in that one, which makes sense because the first one is already paid for, right? So he probably can't get his refund back because already paid for. Fine. You do what you want to do. You take this room. I'm going to go get another one. So it's probably exactly what happened. Andrea said that McCain called her on April 9th and told her that her daughter was in the hospital. Okay. And I hope I'm pronouncing the mother's name right. It's either Andreas or Andreas. I'm not sure, but I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right. It's spelled Endress. He told me that Ashley did something to herself and she was being taken to the hospital, and he told me she was stable. According to police, Robinson was taken to a hospital and then transferred to another hospital before being declared dead on April 9th. Why was she was she taken to a smaller hospital first and then maybe transferred to a bigger hospital. See, this is why I like to read different articles. Some articles will give you more info than the other. She's never done anything that would ever lead me to believe that she would do something to harm herself like that. She was happy, Andrea said. The results of medical examination into Robinson's death are pending, police said, and McCain's passport has been confiscated amid the probe. So his passport has been confiscated, because I saw some people saying that he came back to the States, he's living life again, and I was trying to find that, but I couldn't find it. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. So, but on here on ABC News, it says that his passport was confiscated. Robinson's parents told WPVI that they have reached out to Tanzania and U.S. officials as they seek answers about their daughter's death. She was loved. She was not just going to be discarded and forgotten about. In a statement to ABC News, Zaria Zanzibar Resort Management said they were deeply saddened by the tragic incident involving one of our guests, and that they were cooperating with local authorities and the U.S. Embassy. A State Department spokesperson confirmed to ABC News that the recent death of an American in Zanzibar said, "We offer our sincerest condolences to the family and loved ones on their loss, but that due to the privacy of other considerations, we have no further comment." All right, so if you're wondering where Tanzania is, here, I'm going to show you this. This Tanzania, okay, east of Africa, right below Kenya. Where they were at, though, was on an island right off of Tanzania. So the island is actually, see that, the red dot? That's where they were at. So they were actually on an island. So it makes sense why they probably took her to two separate hospitals, because on the report, it says that they took her to a local hospital. I believe right here, this is the closest hospital, okay? 3 minutes away. North Valley Hospital. And when you click on it, look how small this hospital is. Look at that. North Valley Hospital. So I believe this is probably the hospital they took her to, and then transported her most likely to a bigger location. So it makes sense of why they probably took her to that hospital. So after looking at that, it makes sense of why they probably transferred her to another hospital. I'm not there, but just from looking at that, it could be a smaller hospital. They might not have everything. I don't know. So I can see maybe why they possibly transferred her to another one. Now, did she go to a hospital that was on the mainland, or did they go to another hospital that's on that same island? You know, different story. Now, we did see that they separated them 8 minutes apart. So officially, they said 8 minutes apart walking to where he was on the other side of the resort. Now, that does not mean that he couldn't do anything. All right. That doesn't mean that. Because they found her, you know, I believe it was that night or the next day. And then, you know, went to the hospital. She's alive, but then passed away when, you know, they transfer her to the other hospital. And then once again, they said they found another mark on her neck. But what is this mark? What is the mark? You know, this is the mark show signs of strangulation with hands, maybe strangulation that, because if it's a piece of clothing, what kind of clothing was it? Let's say a tie from a rope that you use, you know, you put a robe on and you have the tie around. Was it one of those? Was it a scarf? You know, what kind of clothing was this? I would love to know that. And does that clothing article match with the scar or with the wound that they found on her neck? These are things that the medical examiners are going to have to look at. Now, I know they're in this place called Tanzania, and I don't know how good detectives are there. I don't know how good the police work is. You know, I don't think any of us do. Unless you've been in trouble there, you probably don't know either. So we don't know how good these people are. And, you know, and that's all I can say about that. Now, before we get into some theories of what could have possibly happened, let's take a look at Ashlee, okay? Now, Ashlee did have some posts on her X account or whatever that did show signs of maybe a little bit of depression, you know, but that does not mean that carried over into her, you know, to this situation. But you guys know me. I like to look, hey, let's look at everything. Because when it comes to things like this, we have to get the facts, we have to get the conclusion, and we have to try and figure out exactly what happened. So that means not just looking at the suspect, but also looking at the victim too, okay? So let's take a look and see exactly what she was posting. So like I said, these are older, okay? So for example, this is from 2012. So she would have been a teenager, I guess. I'm guessing a teenager. Yeah, if she was 31 now. So what, 13, 14, 15, 16 years ago? Yeah, so she would have been a teenager. And in this post she put on X, I'm not scared to die. Devoting this to Self-Harm Awareness Day. If you ever feel SUICID, the word that we can't say is the only, or, harming yourself is the only way. Remember, change is coming and you need to be alive to see it. So this was in the same year. This was only a few days after each other. So it looks like this year she was having a little bit of issue. Maybe she was thinking about it. I don't know. The same year, she also has a post, The Good Die Young. All right. So this was only 2 months after the other post, 2012. Same year, but this is September 2012. It says, sad truth, I think too much and then I put myself in a bad mood. And then 2013, how young can I die? Old age. 2013, only 1 month after she put that, she put, unaliving yourself is never the answer. 2013, don't be sad at all. The end of 2013, in fact, I don't feel anything. I'm not happy. I'm not sad. I'm just like, la, and she puts that little emoji face. 2014, that's such a mental struggle. To let yourself be so happy for now, knowing you could have everything ripped from under you later on. She put life equals shambles. This is 2017. Then she put in 2019, mental health is so important, man. 2019, bro, I'm so over being sad, like for real. Then she put 2025, this last October, life be lifting, and she put LOL, which she could be, that could be for anything. Some of the comments here are saying, one comment says, thanks for putting the tweets. I went and searched and found much more. She truly wasn't as stable mentally as she appeared. Another comment says, she was struggling with something in that pretty little head of hers. Ashlee, you were worth more than you know. May you rest in peace. Another tweet says, or another message on this says, why share tweets from 10 plus years ago? Those tweets have nothing to do with her death. It just looks like you're defending the suspect. Well, this is not true. The problem is, I can answer that question for you. When you have cases like this, okay, the proper investigation is to investigate all, including the history. You have to investigate everything. So you have to see if this person had thoughts, if this person has done it before or has tried to do it before. Just like I'm pretty sure you would want to see if Joe, her fiance, has tried to unalive one of his exes or does have any violence with any of his exes. You would want to see, because I'm pretty sure if his past was he had domestic violence against other women, then you, of course, would, take that and be like, oh, he has a violent past against us. We just got finished doing this in the Brian Hooker case, okay? Brian and Lynette Hooker. And if you guys don't know, Lynette Hooker is still the woman who's missing out at sea. Well, come to find out, Brian Hooker, there's a history there of domestic violence. So because there is a history there, people, are putting more of the blame on Brian, saying he did something to her at sea because he's done stuff before, okay? So you have to look at this history. So if you're saying that about him, then what about her if she had a history of talking like this? You get where I'm going? Now, this is her one of her social media accounts. As you see, 124K followers. When this first happened, I believe it was only at 80. So this is how big it's getting. Okay. She's gained over 40,000 followers just from what happened. Very sad. They say you're not famous until you die. Very sad. This right here is the video of them walking. Then a video of him posing to her, or proposing, sorry. Another, picture of her. So all the still shots. I mean, it looks like she was living, her and Joe looks like that basketball game. Portland Trailblazers, actually. Yeah, Portland Trailblazers. And like I told you earlier, he actually has I don't know if he still has a house in Portland. He might, but like I said, his ex is in Portland. This is New Orleans. Actually, I have a picture right in front of this too. I know exactly where that's at. That's New Orleans. So, I mean, they were living the life together, a lot of traveling, a lot of going places, but social media does not tell the whole story. It doesn't. I mean, look at this. Harris. So, I mean, he was taking her places. He was taking her to a lot of places. This is Jamaica right here. Now that I try to make it to where you can understand who Joe is, his background, who Ashlee is. There's really not too much you can deep dive into Ashlee, besides her social media. But the only thing about social media that we all know, social media sometimes does not tell the whole story. Because you could be all glam and glitter and you can have all the smiles you want on the world for social media, especially for all the followers you have. But that does not mean when you turn the camera off, something is wrong. Now, I'm not saying she did this herself, but I have to give a perspective that, hey, these things can happen. I do these cases all the time. And then some people, when they do it themselves, if it did happen to themselves, a lot of times other people won't know, I can name plenty of times where you might have thought an individual was happy, everything was going, fine and dandy, and then something happened to him. Look at the dancer Twitch. Remember, he was on Ellen. Everybody thought things were going along with him, or going good, and then Ellen, the show, was getting canceled, and then come to find, look what happened with him. He went to a hotel room and apparently went and unalived himself. Now, there is some controversy later on. Some people are trying to say that his wife at the time might be involved in it, but you're always going to get things like that when this type of stuff happens, especially with people who don't want to believe that, hey, this person can do that because look how happy they were. Look at this. I can tell you for a fact, even with myself, there was times where I was like, you might have thought I was happy and smiling, but maybe in my head, I might be thinking, ooh, I don't want to be here no more. Because sometimes that can happen. A lot of us will have these thoughts, or a lot of us will think about that, and then it'll be something that might pick us up, that'll snap us out of it. Like, okay, yeah, I can't do that. I have kids, or I have a family, or, it could be better. Let's work our way out of this, But these things can happen. Now, when it comes to Joe, some people are saying that Joe could be involved. But why would he involve? What motive would it be for him to do this to her? That's the first thing I think about. What's the motive? And not only that, but how could he have done this? First of all, does the villa have cameras? Now, I'm pretty sure there's no cameras around the actual villas themselves, but does the resort have cameras? The resort might have cameras on the main part, maybe the main lobby, but where the actual villa is, there probably isn't cameras there, because you saw how those rooms were. They were you can open the door and it's right there to the ocean. So why? And you can have a shower right there outside. There was tubs, hot tubs. So I'm pretty sure if there was a camera pointing at the hot tub or the shower, that can be an invasion of privacy. Nobody would want to go there, right? So they probably didn't have no cameras there and, by those villas just for that reason. Now, I'm not saying they didn't have one, let's say, in between the walking distance. They might have. Who knows, right? Now, in Joe's case, what motive would he have? The only thing I could think about is, what was the argument about? I'm pretty sure if we knew exactly what the argument was about, most of this would be solved. It would be solved. For example, if she did do this to herself, and let's say he just proposed to her, right? And they got into an argument, and let's say he was telling her, just to let you know, you might have to sign a prenup, and I'm pretty sure you guys know what a prenup is, right? Pretty much everything, we get married, you don't get nothing if we get divorced. And some people will get upset over that. They would be like, well, you don't love me. You think you're going to marry me. It's just, you think I'm going to take your money. You think I'm not love you. Some people will get angry over that. And I can understand where they're coming from. And then I can understand if a person has multi-millions in $1 million company, which he does have $1 million company, they're scared that, hey, you can take that away from him. Okay. Certain states, one of them is California. If you divorce your other, you automatically entitled to half of what they have, including businesses. Ask the owner, or I should say the ex-owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Just go ask him. This is why he's the ex-owner. So let's just say the argument is over a prenup. And and I'm not saying this happened, but I'm just speculating. What if it was? I can see it going down over that. I can definitely see it going down over that, to where that was discussed, and then he brings up, well, I guess you don't love me like to say you do, or you're going to sign the prenup because, first of all, I built this business from the ground up. This is a $multi-million dollar business, and I'm not going to lose it to nobody. I don't care how much you love you. And it hurts to say that, but hey, I could see a person telling somebody that, hey, this business comes first. This supports not just you, but it supports me. It supports the workers. And so I have business partners. Not only that, I got multi-millionaire business partners. So I could see that, and him saying, okay, fine, here, you staying here. I'm going to go get another place. You think about it. And her whole life just tumbling in front of her eyes right then and there. Who knows? But you could see that. Was the argument over another person? Somebody looked through somebody's phone? Was somebody jealous of somebody? Did they argue before this? Was there arguments all the time? I showed you on the Instagram. I showed you. They looked happy. They were traveling anywhere, but that doesn't show everything. So did they argue a lot behind the scenes? If they did, what did they argue about? All this is going to play a factor. It will all play a factor. Did they get along like you think they got along on social media? The one thing I hate about social media is a lot of times you don't know the actual person based off their TikTok or IG account, because you could post whatever you want, especially with AI nowadays. So you don't know exactly what's going on behind closed doors. Now, if Joe did do this, how could he have done it? Did he go back there, take the walk? They start talking again. Maybe they were texting each other or something, or called each other. So he went back to apologize, or she said, come here, I'm sorry. And they got to argument again, and he lost his cool. He lost his temper. A lot of men, when it comes to doing this to a female, one of the things they do is they will choke. They get and they choke. So it's a known fact that that's a lot of times what they do. So did he do that and then maybe set it up like he did something? Did he pay somebody there to do something? As in, like, he got into an argument and maybe he wasn't searching it out, but maybe somebody, a hotel staff or some staff member came up to him like, hey, I can do this for you if you pay me this much. Because you got to think about it. He's a millionaire. They're on this resort. There's regular people working. These people aren't rich. These people are probably working for a dime on the dollar, you know, especially, and I don't know what the pay is out there, but I'm pretty sure the pay is not that much. So you could probably pay easily somebody $10,000 and it might be $100,000 to them, and they probably would do this. And to yourself, you might be thinking, that's not a lot of money. I don't want to do it. But you can go easily to Chicago right now and pay some kid on the street $500 and they'll go do it for you. So I know in Africa, a place like that, it'll probably be easier to even do it to somebody. So is that possible? Yeah, it could be possible. It could be. And then how she went, they found her, you know, conscious. And then she went to the first hospital. Could somebody there been paid off? Like, hey, she knows too much. She got to go. Yes, possible. And then they took her to the next location where she passed away. All of this is possible. There is a reason why they took his passport. Because they are doing an investigation and they want to see exactly, hey, did he do something to her? Not only that, the people who own the resort, you got to think about the people who own the resort, not just the workers, but who own it. Whatever company or people or person that owns the resort, they don't want this bad publicity on their resort. Okay. They don't want this known as this is a place you can come to unalive somebody if you're not happy with them. They don't want that known. So I'm pretty sure they are going to try and see what they can do to help solve this. All right. Because He could pay a worker to get rid of some security footage, but I'm pretty sure it'd be harder to pay the actual owner of the business to get rid of the security footage. Think about this. The whole Diddy trial, the whole Diddy situation. If you remember correctly, none of this really started until the Cassie video came out. The video of Cassie walking down the hallway, trying to run away from him. Then he came up and attacked her, kicked her while she was on the floor. And you remember the video resurfaced, but you remember what happened originally? He paid a security guard, I believe it was what, $50,000 to get rid of the video. Come to find out, he never really got rid of it, but he paid the security guard. He didn't pay the owner of the hotel. He paid like the head of security to get rid of it. So $50,000 to the head of security at the time was probably his whole year's worth of salary. So it's probably what he did. So that is possible. It is. But the thing is, we don't know. Like I said, I would love to know what the argument is over. So did she do this to herself? And if she did, exactly how? Those marks on her neck, were they from the piece of clothing? What was the clothing? Was she in the closet or did it found by a door? You know? So I would love to see this. Would Joe risk doing this on purpose to lose his company and everything else? I don't know. I can't speak for the guy. But could I see him getting emotional and doing something to her at the time, at the heat of the moment? Yes. Because I go through so many cases all the time where this happens. All the time. But I want you guys to let me know, have you heard of this case? This case is making a lot of rounds right now. I'm going to keep following it. I'm going to keep digging into it to see if I can find more. Hopefully I brought you some stuff that other people haven't found, especially on his side. And, you know, because I realized with him, a lot of people couldn't explain exactly what he did and, you know, his businesses and things like that. So I went into it. And since I'm a business owner myself, I was able to easily, you know, and especially with the Bitcoin thing, I told you I was doing Bitcoin when it first came out. So I'm pretty more knowledge in that sector. So please comment below, like and subscribe. I am almost at 25,000 subscribers. I'm one of the fastest growing YouTube channels in the true crime sector, and I owe it all to you guys. Thank you so much. So please like and subscribe. Comment below the country you're from, if you've heard of this, the city, the theories. What do you think happened if she did it or if he did it? I try to reply back to everybody I can. And thank you to the subscribers who commented on a few of my other videos saying to look at this case. So I hope I did this for you, and I hope I brought you guys justice that told me to do this. I want to say, please love one another, take care of one another, and wherever you go, watch out for your surroundings, as in be aware of your surroundings when you're going somewhere, and look out at your surroundings where you at right now. All right. Fugitive TV. I'm out.